Okay, 5 seconds.
Okay. Hello there. My name is Fernando Cipriano, and I'm the co-CEO of Alphablock. I've been with Alphablock now for over 5.5 years, but Alphablock, the organization, has been around for over a decade. Alphablock is an artificial intelligence company, and what makes Alphablock unique is that we apply our AI in the wealth management industry. And I'd like to share with you a little story on how I got involved with Alphablock. Myself, my entire adult life has been in the wealth management industry. I started my career there and continued there until I started my own firm. I started with a small mutual fund company and then moved and went to the biggest mutual fund company at the time, Fidelity Investments. And then in 2002, I decided to start my own firm called ROI Capital and ran this firm for the next 12 years. In 2014, we sold our business to a much bigger firm here in Canada. And I decided at that point that I wanted to spend a little more time doing other things. I essentially retired at that point. And when you're retired, it's not uncommon for a lot of different businesses and different projects to come to you for either advice or board membership, or at a lot of times for investments in those companies. And about 4 years after I'd been retired, I came across Alphablock through a business proposal that was sent to my desk. And at first glance, I looked at it and I knew that it was an AI company, and I knew very little about artificial intelligence. And so I was about to dismiss it. But as I started to flip through the deck, I noticed some things that I recognized from my past. And that was, I was looking at what looked like performance charts of things like a Canadian equity product, a US equity product, European equity, Asian equity products, investment funds. And in each of these cases, what appeared to me was they were all outperforming their benchmarks. Now, I knew enough, being in this industry my entire career, that very few funds outperform their benchmarks year after year. And yet I was looking at these slides, one after the other, of these supposedly winning funds. I was very skeptical. I thought at first glance that this must be a cherry picking of the best products in each of those categories. And this company was just illustrating how these winners, what made these winners unique. So I was very, very skeptical. But nevertheless, I reached out to the principal, Mukul Paul, the founder of Alphablock. And I said, Mukul, I got your pitch deck. And before we start talking about these charts that I'm looking at, I need you to educate me a little bit on what is AI, because I know very little of it. And this was a time when artificial intelligence certainly wasn't as topical as it is today. Today, every single day, we're hearing about AI. Back then, the only reason I knew of AI was usually in sci-fi movies. So I said to him, Mukul, tell me what AI is. And he said, well, artificial intelligence is simply a technology that attempts to train computers to act like humans. And I said, but I thought computers were smarter than people. And he said, no, computers are faster than people, but humans can learn, they can adapt, they can evolve, they experience something, take the learnings from that, and then change their behavior in the future from those learnings. Computers don't do that. Enter AI. AI is the technology that attempts to have computers do that. And so he said, for example, we use AI with things like face recognition. All a computer is doing is trying to learn and say, okay, I'm learning and looking at these people. Who am I looking at? Oh, I've identified this person. In the case of self-driving cars, they use AI. What the AI is trying to do is to navigate through a city without crashing. So it's trying to predict, roads and directions, etc. When you look at predictive language, on your cell phones, you're starting to type a message and the AI starts to fill it in because it knows what you're trying to say. So Mukul said to me, all AI tries to do is trying to predict the outcome of things by learning from the data. And so he said, all I've done with our technology and our data scientists and coders, and we have a big team of them, is we've applied that predictive knowledge to capital markets, trying to predict the outcome of capital markets. And so he said, that's what we've done. And I said, okay, now that I get it, surely you're not suggesting that these products are the output of your tech. Are these real products I'm looking at? And he said, yes. We have money managers around the world who come to us and they give us a mandate. Our technology is agnostic. We don't dictate what that mandate is. The money manager says to us, we want a US equity fund. Maybe we want a US mid-cap fund or a large cap fund or a small cap fund. And then all we do is we get the entire data set of the small cap or mid cap or large cap US equities. We plug them into our technology, and the output is the security selection. Here are the names for this portfolio. And then once a month, we send them new instructions to either sell some positions, buy others, or cut back or add to some positions, etc. And I said, so these are actual products with real money in them that are outperforming the benchmark each and every time? He said, yes. I still didn't believe it. So what I did next was I looked at his cap table and I noticed that Alphablock had an investment from a venture capital firm out of Montreal called Real Ventures. And I contacted Real Ventures because they were an AI expert. Their entire portfolio was of AI companies. And I spoke to the principals there. We went out for lunch and I said, I'm considering investing in Alphablock. What made you invest in Alphablock? And John Stokes, the principal there, said to me, you know, we invest in a lot of AI companies. We certainly don't have any favorites. We hope, you know, all of them will succeed. He said, but when we met with Mukul Paul, we had to do something that we'd not done in our careers. And that was we had to spend 3 extra days in Toronto because we could not wrap our heads around how different Alphablock's AI was compared to conventional AI philosophies. So it was radically different. And so I thought, okay, well, that's a good sign. And so I then decided to join. Now, Mukul's background, he is an incredibly intelligent scientist. His background is the capital markets, but he's got master's degrees in finance, econometrics, statistics. He was in the MIT FinTech program. And when he was there, he built a better benchmark. He wanted to prove that machines can pick stocks better than humans. And so he decided to, his thesis being to build a better NASDAQ index because most benchmarks are market cap weighted. And he felt that this was a flaw in the model because market cap weighted, you run the risk of what's happening right now with the S&P 500, where the Magnificent Seven, the top 7 holdings, represent 30% of the benchmark, with the other 493 stocks representing the other 70. So he used his tech to build the benchmarks where the weightings are dictated by the machine. And the result was he won an award for top 30 ideas at MIT that year, and they encouraged him to list that on the NASDAQ exchange. And he did so, and it then delivered over the next 7 years, double the returns of NASDAQ with similar volatility, very low tracking error. It was remarkable. And I decided I need to get involved here, and that's why I did. So thank you for your time.